So the ReVeAL decision support tool is basically, I would say, our key output, and it brings together, insofar as that's possible, all of the things that we've been talking about so far into a means to try and have other cities decide which building blocks might be appropriate for them to build an UVAR, and what are some of the processes that they need to think about when they're putting it together. So we, together with our Ruprecht Consult, together with 3 other partners, have been working on this intensely, I can say, for about 1.5 years, having a lot of really interesting discussions. And we're going to try and describe to you what was behind the tool, and also show you how it works and give a live example at the end. So I'll be presenting this time together with my colleague Sophia, who is going to take the first part, and I'll come back in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Bonnie. Good morning, everyone. Well, I would like to start directly with the tool. So as Bonnie said, this is a tool that's called Access Regulation for Your City, and it's actually already online. Then we're gonna try and test it all together. This is a tool that put all the pieces together. So the different measure fields that were explained yesterday, so regulatory measures, spatial interventions, and pricing aspects, and the building blocks that came from it, and all the different cost-cutting things that were explained this morning. So what the tool actually does is to try to help cities that are considering implementing a UVAR measure and to put it in place. So it allows the user, a city, to self-assess their situation in the city through different questions, and to filter down the 33 different building blocks that we identified and suggest the ones that are more suitable for the local context. So the inputs are quick 15 quick questions, which would take you only 10 minutes to respond. And then the outcomes are a prioritization of the building blocks, and from each of them, you will get access to fact sheets that explain all the detailed information about each of the building blocks, and you will find examples, and then Bonnie is going to explain it later. And then you will also have access to the guidance, which is help for you in the process of the implementation of each of the package of UVAR. So we decided to divide this presentation into different parts, which is what's behind the tool, which is the one I'm presenting, and then Bonnie is going to explain what can you gain from the tool. This part of is like, we call it like the methodology. We divide it into 4 different steps, but I would like to say that it wasn't such a linear process. There was a huge work behind it, and there were confronting of the information with different investigation of case studies, and also the results from the different pilots, the expertise from the different measure field leaders, and we put all those things together in a process going back and forward all the time to adapt and suggest new interventions. And it wasn't such a linear process, but it's been working for 2 years already in this tool. So the first step would be the one of identifying which are the relevant aspects. We came up with 15 of them that a decision maker should take into account at the time of choosing a UVAR scheme. Those relevant aspects were split into different local level characteristics, we call it, which are the different characteristics that describe all characterize the different European cities. I put here 4 examples, but there are many of them. For example, the geographical scope is one of the relevant aspects. When we choose a UVAR, we should be thinking already what's the size of the area we have to deal with. For example, it's different choosing a UVAR for just a specific street or a specific neighbor than choosing a UVAR, like in the case of Jerusalem, for example, that we're choosing a UVAR for the major part of the city or the entire city. Another aspect could be the land use, which is different, choosing a U-Bahn in a place that you have mostly residents or mostly offices, or a place that you have mixed use, including or excluding residential. By doing this, we also realized that it was very important not to focus only in the current situation of the city, but also to focus on the goals that the city has, so where the city wants to be. So with this tool, when you will use it, for example, it was, if you say that your current share of cycling is very low, the tool won't exclude the possibility to add cycle lanes or to suggest other building blocks related to cycle if your aim and your goal is going for it. So we structured the tool into four different steps, which is the scope, and that identify the context of the site of the city, the area we are dealing with, the characteristics of that area, the mobility services which are already in place there, so parking or available public transport and all other services, and last but not least is the objectives of the area, so where the city wants to be. What we did is to calculate, we put up the system to calculate which is the level of appropriateness of each of the building blocks to each of the identified 93 characteristics that we identified. So going from -5 for bad combinations and to 5 to very appropriate combinations. So we went. What we did was to ask questions. For example, I put here one example: how appropriate is a cycle lane if the city has the aim of creating more livable space? So that was characterized with a number from -5 to 5. And by doing this, we created a matrix, which in the top row, you can see all the different building blocks, the 33 building blocks. And in the column, you can see all the 93 local characteristics that we came up with. And we came up with a matrix that has over 3,000 values for all the different combinations. After this, we realized by looking at the result of the different pilots and also the analysis of the city cases that we studied, that not all the aspects and not all the characteristics have the same weight in the decision-making process. So, for example, the scope of the area, so if the city want to implement a U-Bahn in a specific street or in the entire city, had a higher weight in the decision-making progress than if the city had already implemented a parklet or a list already in the city, for example. So what we did is to put in the columns, so for each of the identified local characteristics, to include a weight. So 1 for the important ones and 3 for the more important, the very important ones. And we gave them a weight. A step after that was to traduce all these things into something that was understandable and user-friendly. So we went from how appropriate is a cycling lane or each of the any of the other building blocks, is the city aim is to create more lively space, to what are the main mobility related objectives in your area. So some of the you're gonna see after our presentation when we're gonna try the test, that in some of the questions you can actually choose different options in one question. So for example, the objectives of the area could be more than one, and and the other way, and other questions have to be answered with only one choice that are trying to illustrate more specific characteristics of the city. So when the user of the tool is answering all the questions, each of the answers they include in the tool, they are gonna get a weight, so a level of appropriateness going from -5 to 5 to each of the different building blocks. and then wait for that specific answer, which is from the importance from 1 to 3. So each of the building blocks, when you do the tool, what it does is to sum up the column and get a final score for each of the building blocks. What the tool does is to suggest the one that gets the higher numbers. So that are, according to your answers, the ones that are more suitable for that specific situation. It suggests from 5 to 10 different building blocks that then leads you to the next step. That is the one that Bonnie is going to introduce right now. Yes.
Those colors are a priority or?
He was asking about the colors. Yeah, sorry. The colors is the yellow ones. In the tool, you're gonna see that in the upper part that the yellow ones are spatial interventions, okay. The green ones are regulatory measures, and the blue ones are pricing aspects. Yeah.
Yes, and I will continue with that. And first of all, I would like to say that was an incredible summary of all of the work that we put together. That was, that was an extra round of applause. So Sophia showed this a little bit. This is actually a screenshot of, we did a test run with this. We've done lots of test runs, but this was me going through with the city that I live in, of Bremen. And just so you can see, and I've broken this into screenshots, we want to do a live test afterwards, but I just wanted you to see what this looks like on the screen. And as Sophia said, there were so many tables behind this, but what it comes down to is these questions, and I've got 3 screens of them just so you can see. That's it. So those are the questions that you need to ask yourselves. And we said, for somebody that knows their city well, probably about 10 minutes to go through. So what I get to show you now is what can your city get from this? So what are we providing you based on all of this information that we put in? What comes out on the other side of that? And we come back to this again, and we've seen this, and this is my output for the city of Bremen when I put it in for the city center. So these were the 10 suggested building blocks offered to me. And I'm going to look at the permit to travel. So this is one of the building blocks that's been offered. And so I want to say, okay, what does this mean to me as the city of Bremen? I want to look into this in more detail. And so for each of these building blocks, in fact, for all 33 building blocks that we have, we've got a fact sheet. So this is the overview fact sheet, 33 of them. What is covered here? And this is, yes, just description, this basic, each one of these with basic information about, this is the ReVeAL project. Then the next page, we've got a little bit of context. And again, you can see the colors and so we have the spatial interventions, just describing them all. So you can have a little bit of context of where this fits into the building block that you're looking at. So the spatial interventions and all listed below, and the one you can see obviously in green in the right column, permit to travel. This is the one that we're focusing on. So this is the content of this fact sheet. So the overview and the context. And then after that, we've got building block specific advice. So this fact sheet provides, for example, we'll start with the basics. What is this exactly? So permit to travel, a definition of that is the first thing we show. And then we come into a lot of the things that you'll have heard today and yesterday as well. Timing, phasing, scaling. How do we do this? So we give concrete advice for each building block about, say, well, here, this building block, it can be phased in by tightening the requirements to receive a permit, or by increasing fees, by increasing the number of vehicles affected, or by increasing the size of the area affected. So very precise information to give you something as a starting point for your thinking. Time windows as well, so you can say, this is a building block that can be put in, for example, I don't know, from 9 till 5 on work days, or it can be seasonal. And we provide the different options here that are recommended for this particular building block. So for permit to travel, this is what we would recommend. And then we also have enforcement options. And again, just with just a brief description, these are the kinds. And I can say for enforcement options, we had a list of 10 that we've identified as possible options to use. And these were I think we've got 7 that would probably work based on our experience and what we've looked at for permit to travel. And then we have this point of gender and equity. So things that you want to consider. If you're putting in place a permit to travel, you should think about subsidies for people with special needs. You may not want to include access for people with disabilities or their caregivers. So just really brief thought that you don't forget what these are. And then we also have future considerations, and that talks about things like what might happen if there is more ISA in place and how that could be used for permit to travel. So taking these future things that we've talked about and putting that in. And the last point here that we have is further guidance. And we've got the little finger there that shows us this is online. And we'll show this afterwards, but all of the points here have direct links to the guidance that we've created within ReVeAL about all of these aspects of how, or the process that we put in place. So this is what this leads to. And we'll come back to that afterwards with a live test, but just to go through here. And this, because I've got these two, the same as Sophia, we talked about how we came to this, because you could say, okay, where did that information come from? So everything that I listed on the previous page is also in a massive spreadsheet with the building blocks down the side, and across the top, you can see definition, timing, phasing, upscaling, and so on, everything across here, which we created this based on the expertise we have within the consortium, which was great. And also based on, as Sophia said, we had 18 case studies that we looked at in quite some depth. So taking those pieces of information together, we created this and put it in that information then into the fact sheet. Continuing, the other thing we have then is the complementary measures, which Cosimo talked about earlier today. So which ones might be something to consider with permit to travel? In this case, exemptions, financial incentives, increased mobility options, organizational support, all of those are something that you should be considering here. And we have more information about that in the guidance, but this is just the first thought and with some concrete points about what that can look like. So those are the complementary measures. And the last part is, I keep saying last, but there's more coming. This is the combinations. So what you can see with the spatial interventions there are speed reduction, traffic filter, capacity restraint, reallocating parking space. These are all building blocks that, again, with our examination of the previous cases and the work that we've done within the project, we would say, this is something that you might consider pairing this building block with. And we've got another one of these, this time with the building blocks along the side and across the top. So we did a matching exercise basically, and you can see what's in dark. These are the ones that they are likely to be something that you might want to pair. So again, this is based on expertise, based on what we know from experience, combined with a close examination of 18 case studies. And this is what we came up with then of possible pairings of building blocks. So to come back again to the fact sheet, because this is all still part of it, the last part is then a case example. And for each of these we have, and this is then Bologna with the description, how they have been using permits in Bologna over time. We have the enforcement methods, the time windows as they've used them, phasing and upscaling, other building blocks that were put in place with it. So this is basically a one case example describing everything that we've said, so you can see what it looks like in the city of Bologna in this case. And we have, one more click, 33 of those. So a case example and one of these fact sheets again for each of the 33 building blocks that we've come up with. The other thing that we have, and we keep talking about this, this is a screenshot from the ReVeAL website where we have the famous guidance. This is guidance for putting UVAR measures in place. And again, this is mostly covering these cross-cutting themes that we talked about and all the things that you need to think about. And so this is just the very top of it. And I think we're gonna do it. Okay, we got the thumbs up.
If you want,
Oh, I
I
guess
can
I need
complete. I can complete and you.
Okay. So we went through, and again, I said my example was the city of Bremen. So it's in Germany, Bremen, the population of your city, and the options here are, I think, above 250,000 is what we've chosen. That's Bremen has a population of 500,000. Okay. That's what happens when we get the live stuff coming in. We're looking at the city center, and then we click on to the next one, and we move to the questions. Are you looking for, and I said in this case, for the city center? And this is real, because there are things you're looking at yet. And the following things that we have in place, we talked about this together, so Sophia already knows the answers. They're real. So regulating parking and the main activities in the area, I think it was just the two, yeah. The main activities in the area are, what did I say? Mainly mixed use, excluding residential, yeah. Now, I had a bit of a conflict with myself here because the next question is then, what are the main purposes of vehicles? No, yeah, that's one. Sorry, the next one then, yeah. Then the income levels, I called it heterogeneous. There are a few people living there. And then the main purposes for motor vehicle traffic, visiting, of course, commuters to the area, and deliveries would be the other ones. And then the predominantly narrow streets. Bremen has a lot of narrow streets, so that's what I've selected. And then
Mobility services.
yes, the mobility services that we have, you can have a drop-down menu. There are good options, I said. And then some delivery options are available. Trams or buses, they're generally on their own lanes. Yeah, because that's all right, we'll live with it. Yeah. The kind of parking facilities, I think I said that there are plenty of off-street, publicly available off-street parking facilities.
This one, yeah.
Yeah. And cycling, definitely good. So that's high. Walking, I think also high. Public transport, I think I said high as well. Cars, vans, either high or medium, I don't remember. Heavy duty vehicles, that's quite low. Medium, I don't remember. Motorcycles is certainly low. And e-scooters, you'll have to see what I said because I don't remember, but I think that was low. And then we're going to the next section as described by Sophia, the objectives for the area. Choosing one option, or sorry, yeah. Decision makers, are they generally open? And I would say, yes, they are generally open in the city of Bremen. What do we want to do? Yeah, and I can choose up to 5 options here: more walking, more cycling, air quality, climate emissions. And I might have said noise as the other one.
No.
No motorized traffic. Okay, that's my 5. And the restraint of the budget, because this can also be an issue in what might be possible, and it is constrained. Bremen is unfortunately not very rich. We come to the end of this and we click and we get this. So these are the results. Look at this, it's almost like magic. Get to travel then. So
sorry.
yeah, now go back, yeah. Yeah, just so we'll follow this through on the one that we looked at. So we have the permit to travel. Sure. And just to prove I wasn't lying, it's really here and it's all online, but you can see what comes up. So this is just what I showed you through the screen. And then what I think is important here is this component of the further guidance and what this takes you to. And I'll just take enforcement options because that's, oops, but I wanted to do it. No, I clicked that the wrong way. Hang on. We have one little issue that we need to work out with. This one?
Yeah.
Ah, thank you. No, that's not it.
But you
did
can go
this.
down anyway there.
Wait. Okay, we'll go here. I'll take
Yeah,
something different instead. Sorry. It should still work because it's all going to the same place. But spatial interventions, but I know the other one better. So now I have to find it again. further guidance. There we go. And I will come then to enforcement options. There we go. And then when I go into that tab, we're on the ReVeAL website, enforcement options, and then you can see what comes up here. So we're just taking you into what could be something to think about for that particular building block. So it really is the project trying to guide you into something that works for your city. And we have to say a disclaimer, we're not promising that this is a package that you can put together based on what we've got. But based on the research we've done, based on getting the input from our 6 partner cities, based on the 18 case studies that we work with, based on the expertise that we have in the consortium, this is what we put together. And we hope that it gives you something to think about when you're putting a UVAR package in place in your city. And you're welcome to scroll through this. This is, I can say on paper, this is a 100-page document, and all lovingly uploaded here by our colleague Alessia at Polis. Recently to make sure that this is all there. So you can see all of the information that we've had is to be found here. So if you want to, when we put it all with the toggle, so you can scroll through what you want to look at for the headings and then just open them up the way that you want to in there. So you can see what we have to say about transparency, about almost anything you could imagine with regard to ReVeAL and UVAR measures. So that's it, the live test. For the first time, we've all seen it together. So there we go. And I can say for our partnership, even for us, it was a bit difficult to imagine what this was going to look like or could look like in the end. So for those out there in the virtual audience, we can see some really happy faces here because it's really cool and we're really proud of it. With that, we've got a few minutes. We're happy to take questions. We'll even invite questions.
And I like to say this is the ReVeAL project for 3.5 years in your pocket for your city to help you, give you ideas, like our cities came on things they wouldn't have normally thought about.
Yeah, Samantha?
How is the tool being hosted? What's the
Yeah, right now the tool itself is on a separate page. So we have the URL, you can see it there, and it's this one here. So that's AccessRegulationsForYourCity.eu/tool. It's a separate page, and then it's combined right now on all of the information that's behind it is on the ReVeAL website. So that means that if somebody doesn't go through the tool, they can also go directly onto the ReVeAL website and find everything there too. So I can show you also.
Yeah, actually, there's also a dedicated page there on the tool.
Oh.
Yeah, that one.
Thank you.
It leads you directly to the tool.
Yeah.
So follow-up question, how long is that platform going to be available?
This is a really interesting question, and we will be following up. I mean, because this is a project that ends at the end of November, we had to draw a line and say this is when it's done. So we've wrapped everything here. The ReVeAL website contractually will be open for another 3 years, which we've always said. Ivo, you want to add something?
Yes, we are. There's a new project starting called Upper. I don't know if you were going to say that as well.
I was going to say yes. There's more coming. So there is a project that has started called Upper that has, among other things, UVARs in its mandate. So it's looking at that, and this probably will be taken forward. And actually, we're having a consortium discussion after this meeting to talk about what needs to be done still with regard to UVARs. And there are certainly discussions about this. So we have agreement from the partners that have been working on this, that we put so much effort into this that we're not going to let it just end. So it's not that this is just here and we hope that maybe 10 cities look at it, but we really want to continue to develop this and push it forward. So yes, this is not the end, most certainly not. Yeah. Any other? Yeah.
May I add something? I also think this is a disclaimer, but we're also open to feedback in a way. Like we ourselves have been trying this and found out some things that maybe weren't as user friendly as we thought of, or we found honest mistakes that we're making. So we're open to adjust as a process of
Yeah.
trial and error, and it needs to be useful to cities. So cities, we're more than open to feedback, and anyone actually who wants to use this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, actually, we included a section inside the tool where you can try it at different times, also download the report to compare the answers that you're getting. And if you're interested, you can also get in touch with us, leaving the email. This is not mandatory, but it's a possibility. You can get in touch with that and send us a message. Sure.
Yeah, and one thing that you said that reminds me too, you can use the tool more than once. So try putting in different information and see what comes out and see if that sort of rings true to you, or think, well, maybe we're thinking about going in this direction, and try putting some inputs in, and then you'll get different outputs at the end. So as I said, this is not a magic tool that says, oh, look, we're ready. And we certainly don't want to try and claim that. But if you try it, you can try different times and see if you put something else in, something else might come out that makes sense to you. But really, this is helping, we hope, helping cities to think about all of the things that need to be considered when they want to put some sort of UVAR measures in place.
Yeah, and to open up to new possibilities that maybe you weren't thinking about.
Exactly. Lucy?
And also you can use it with your stakeholder groups. You can use it as a tool, people to get the ideas, or you can say, look, everybody go and see what you come up with and discuss the results, and through the process, lots of ideas, and then making a decision which ones you take forward in more detail.
Yeah. Yeah, really good point. You might want to, as a city, you could consider using this as part of your stakeholder process. So to help people get involved. And this is where I think or hope that the fact sheets will be helpful, because when we went through this process, because we did do a similar process with the ReVeAL's cities, and we just said, well, we have a building block and it's called permit access. And it was clear in our minds what we were talking about, but the first question was, well, what does that mean exactly? And then we realized, of course, it needs to be clear, what is this permit access or whatever. Some of them are clear. You can say a cycle lane, and they probably have a good picture of that, but this is why the fact sheet is there. So it's about 6 pages, but really clear and simply put, and the idea of that taking you to the guidance. So you can try this in a stakeholder process and say, yeah, but we want to have this, or these are our goals, and what might come out at the other end. So it can certainly be a starting point for discussions. Yeah, Rajiv?
Just one question, besides taking it to another project, you're talking to consultancy firms or looking into education material coming out of this, or the cities, if they need support with implementing this?
There's Lucy?
There is a Civitas training material on ReVeAL's, and this will be updated to include this. There are other various toolkits we're going to put this into and refer to it. The plan is, we hope to put a link in from some UVAR guidance to all three, to ReVeAL, to UVAR Box, and to UVAR Exchange. We're in discussions with the Commission about this. How we take ReVeAL on in the long term, we're discussing about whether the cities would like to have potentially the consultancy with advice from the different partners. We're open to anything, because you get to do this till right at the end, and we needed that time to do it to make it as good as we think it is, and now we want to promote it and get it out to many people. I know there's somebody from Budapest here today saying, we're wondering what on earth we do, and just at the right stage to use this tool to get some ideas. People are implementing an UVAR, maybe they want a different type of UVAR. Jerusalem had a very fixed idea what they wanted to do, and through the process, they got other ideas. Hopefully people will use it.
Yeah, but it's interesting within like this is sort of a snapshot in time as well, because part of the discussion earlier this morning was how things are changing, and even socially and politically what's going on, and how that all fits in. So everything we've written sort of represents where we stand now, and we recognize that things will change. So you put a fact sheet down, I won't even say it's on paper because it's electronic, but you put these things down now, and I can see that there's evolution. And as I said, we've already got our checklist of, oh, we could do this, and we can add this, or how it could be done in the future. But there's certainly, I think, a lot of room or potential. I think what we keep saying is that this, I hope, is helping to systematize the UVAR process to help, because you think, oh, we've got, I don't know, something about a congestion charge, but you can say, these are the things that you consider. You know, there are building blocks, and I can imagine there'll be more building blocks coming up. We can't say that this is all there is. And these are the things that you want to consider while you're doing it. So at least you've got a framework in your mind about how you can do this, rather than just being a little bit random or saying, well, we kind of like to do that and hope it works out well.
And seeing the bars is more varied than just the low emission zone or just this as
Yeah.
a block. Really, spatial interventions, they are really key. They are a carrot within the stick, if you like, giving the city back to people when you're taking the bars out.
The carrot within the stick.
Well, yeah, the bars are seen as a stick sometimes, but
Yeah.
the spatial interventions is giving people back
Yeah.
space.
Certainly.
And
And these aspects, I think, just really the details of it, that you can bring something in over a period of time, and how you might consider doing that, or if you want to make it small and make it larger, or if you want to make it not so strict and then more strict, or a combination of that. It's just showing you all of these different options that you might want to, or my colleague Ralph always says, the screws that you can turn in different places to make something work a little bit better.
whilst we'd like to refine it, we think that the structure is quite robust. The structure, the systemization is fairly sit, and there's things we'd like to improve.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
the structure's there.
Yeah.
The UVAs are needed for climate emergency. It's that you're going to need these in the cities.
Yep. That's us.